What is up? GoodMicWork back at ya. WWE Backlash 2017 is in the books, and we have a brand new WWE champion. That's right, Jinder Mahal did the impossible, and he won the WWE title in the main event of Backlash. I am pretty shocked. This will no doubt spark a ton of controversy. There will be a lot of people debating online about this. Some people are in complete agreement with putting the belt on Jinder, and some people find it utterly ridiculous. To me, I have no problem whatsoever, and I don't want to be the person that's going to complain about new guys, because I'm normally the fan that embraces WWE giving new guys opportunities, different guys opportunities, trying to change things up a bit. I have no problem with that whatsoever, but to me it's how they built Jinder Mahal up. It's what they have done with him up until now before he won the title that to me doesn't make any sense, because literally one day he was a jobber and the next day he was the #1 contender. There was no build to this. There was no teasing of this. You didn't see a subtle transformation in his character. He wasn't slowly getting a few victories on SmackDown and making some waves. Literally, the moment he was traded from Raw to SmackDown, he won that #1 contenders match, and next thing you know, he's got a title match. They put him in a bunch of matches leading up to Backlash. He got a victory over Randy Orton, a victory over AJ Styles, but it all happened very, very quickly, and to me, I still have jobber on the mind when I think of Jinder Mahal. So even though I have no problem with a new guy or a different person holding a world title in the WWE, I think they could have done this a little bit better with Jinder Mahal, and perhaps even drawn this out a little bit longer and have him win the belt at a later date. You know, he draws a lot of comparisons with the JBL character, and even though JBL happened rather quickly as well, there was still a little bit of build to this. There was still some teasing. Plus, JBL was very successful prior to becoming the WWE champion. He was in a very successful tag team. He wasn't viewed as a joke. He wasn't a jobber, and he wasn't anything like Jinder Mahal was prior to him becoming #1 contender. So I think with Jinder Mahal, this should have been a slower transformation. Maybe introduce him on the SmackDown roster instead of putting him right in a #1 contenders match in the first week and have him win it in an upset. Slowly build to this. Have him beat some guys, have him get his confidence, cut some promos, call some people out, score a couple of big victories over some bigger names, maybe a Sami Zayn, maybe even an AJ Styles here or there, and then have him go on to win a #1 contenders match and face the champion, whoever that might be, and win the belt that way. To me, it just made a little bit more sense, because when you think of Jinder Mahal, you know, what has he done in his WWE career prior to the last 5 weeks? He hasn't done a goddamn thing, and he's pretty much been a joke or a jobber. So to me, this is highly shocking. To me, this is something that WWE doesn't generally do. I know they've thrown the belt on guys before rather quickly. They did it with The Miz back in 2011. I think they did it with Sheamus in 2010. So they try things from time to time, but at least these guys were winning matches prior to this. At least these guys were making some waves and getting noticed and doing some things on television, rather than WWE just being lazy with their writing and their booking and say, okay, we're just going to put this jobber in a #1 contenders match and have him win it for the hell of it. And then we're going to have him win the belt on top of that. So to me, the whole thing is just a little bit perplexing, I guess. And, you know, I guess it's an experiment, because Randy Orton, you know, what's funny about this is that I don't think anybody's complaining that Randy Orton dropped the belt. I don't think a lot of people really enjoyed him beating Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania for the title. I was one of those people. I did not agree with the finish to that match with everything we had going on at WrestleMania. I didn't think we needed 2 title changes, but Randy Orton took the belt anyway, so the fact that he's now dropped it and the fans really aren't into him as champion anyway, that's completely fine. I just wish he was working with somebody and dropping the belt to somebody that we actually wanted to see hold it. Now, I'm going to give Jinder the benefit of the doubt. You know, you can't hate Jinder because he's getting a push. It's the WWE that's writing and booking things for him that we find a little bit strange, but you have to root for the cause here. I'm not going to root for Jinder to fail. I want him to succeed. I want him to surprise us. Maybe he can have a very, very successful WWE title run, but if he doesn't, you know what that means. Randy Orton could be a 14-time world champion, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if WWE has that in the back of their mind. We can put the belt on Jinder if we feel like this experiment is not working out. We'll put the belt on Randy Orton again for a 14th time next month. And that could very well happen. I wouldn't be surprised at all if these guys trade the belt back and forth just to give Randy Orton maybe another title run. Maybe they want to get him very, very close to John Cena. Maybe they want the two of those guys to retire with equal amount of world title wins. Maybe they both win 16 or they both win 17. But given what we've seen from Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal so far on TV leading up to this Backlash match, you know this is not the end of it. Randy Orton's going to get a rematch clause right away. I'm sure he will invoke that either on SmackDown or the next pay-per-view, which, what is it? Is it Money in the Bank? But Jinder Mahal holding this belt, I don't know if he's going to hold this thing until SummerSlam. It might be a case of WWE waiting to see how he does, waiting to see how the ratings are, waiting to see how he draws, I guess you could say, as WWE champion, and just how he performs overall in this role. If they don't like what they see, they'll take the belt off of him, and that'll be the end of it. So as much as I hate to complain about the WWE trying some new things and throwing some shit up against the wall and see if it sticks, I think this whole Jinder Mahal push and situation and title match could have been handled a little bit better. I'm no writer, I'm no WWE creative team member, neither are you guys, but I think we can all agree that this was a little bit silly the way it all came to be. And Jinder Mahal, even though he's WWE champion, he's not somebody that I'm taking seriously yet. That could change. I mean, Jinder could surprise us. He could be a great WWE champion. He could be in that role and do a really good job with it. I just don't have a whole lot of confidence in him. I mean, his look is okay. I'm not a big fan of the anti-America gimmick and how he says people look at me and immediately hate me because, you know, of my background and where I'm from and my heritage and all this shit. I'm not really a big fan of that. I think that's just very, very passé in today's day and age. And we've already seen this before. I mean, Jinder Mahal seems like he's a hybrid of JBL and Muhammad Hassan or something like that. So he just tries to strike a raw nerve and tries to get under the skin of people and be a little bit controversial in a lot of his views and a lot of why he feels the way that he does. And I'm just not into it. I'm not feeling it. And he's got those little guys with him, the Singh brothers, which are hilarious. I mean, speaking of the match, by the way, the match was okay. It wasn't even close to the best match on the card. I think there was a few matches that were better than this one. But the finish was pretty funny, and I cannot get over how hilarious Randy Orton was when he damn near killed one of the Singh brothers near the end of the match on the outside of the ring, and he picked them both up and kind of gave them like a suplex slam onto the announce tables. And I think when he did it to the second guy, he dropped him right on his fucking head. I tweeted about it. I could not stop laughing. I'm glad that he didn't kill this kid, and as far as I know, he did not get injured or anything like that. But when Randy Orton threw him down on that table, the look on Randy Orton's face was like, oh God, I just fucked up. I might have killed this kid. Go back and watch it, or check my Twitter page. I posted a little 10-second video of Randy Orton doing that move, and I just, for some reason, I just couldn't stop laughing. And then right after that is when Jinder, after Randy Orton, I think he hits the Singh brothers with like the double DDT or something, and he's got the injured arm or whatever his problem is, and then Jinder sneaks in the ring from behind, nails him with his terrible-looking finisher, and gets the pin, and becomes the new WWE champion. So the whole match, I guess, was okay. Randy Orton was in an uphill battle, taking on three guys, essentially. But Jinder got the victory in the end, and he's your new WWE champion. So where they go from here, I have no idea. I'm guessing Randy Orton will come out on Tuesday on SmackDown and demand a rematch right away. Maybe it's a handicap type of ordeal, because we saw the Singh brothers get involved in this thing. Maybe at some point they do a 3-on-1 handicap match. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all if on SmackDown you get Randy Orton versus both Singh brothers in a handicap match, 2-on-1, at some point leading up to his rematch with Jinder whenever that takes place. So I don't think this is the last we've heard of this feud. I mean, Jinder has really owned Randy Orton throughout the whole thing. He stole the title from him before Payback and drove off with it in the limo. He's scored a pinfall victory over Randy Orton. He screwed Randy Orton out of his match with Bray Wyatt at Payback. And he's even had a victory over AJ Styles. So they have been pushing Jinder rather strong, and he has been getting the better of Randy Orton in all of their interactions up until now. But you got to know this shit ain't over. You know, Randy Orton could very well win this belt back, making him a 14-time champion. And now you got to start looking ahead to SummerSlam, because now SummerSlam implications are going to be involved. You have to wonder what WWE's long-term plan for SummerSlam is. I personally don't know if Jinder's going to hold on to the belt until SummerSlam. If he does, you would think he's got to drop it at SummerSlam. This is not a championship reign that I think needs to be terribly long. I mean, if they only let Bray Wyatt keep the belt for a month, why are they going to let Jinder Mahal keep it for 6 months? You know what I mean? So I think this is just a little bit of a test. It's Jinder's first run, and WWE will probably wind up taking the belt off of him in the next couple of months. You know, remember Dean Ambrose last year as well. He cashed in the Money in the Bank, won the title in June or whatever it was, and then he dropped it at Backlash, actually, ironically enough, to AJ. And last year, I think Backlash was in September. So even his run wasn't very long. So for those of you that hate the idea of Jinder carrying that belt, I wouldn't get too worried, because I seriously doubt this guy's going to be holding the belt until next year or anything like that. So I guess when you look at it like that, at the end of the day, I can live with the decision. I'm not freaking out about it or anything like that. It's just, I think it could have been done better, is all I'm saying. I think it could have been dragged out a little bit longer. I think they could have stretched this out at least one more pay-per-view, giving Jinder a few more weeks on TV to build momentum, maybe change his character up, get the fans used to this guy, this jobber now being a serious competitor, maybe winning some one-on-one matches clean with no help from his little butt buddies or anything like that. If they did a little bit more of that, this might be easier to accept. I don't know. But you know me. I mean, when do I ever complain? When do I freak out? When do I throw my computer through the window? I usually, at the end of the day, don't care what they do. And even though I have my problems with this feud and this angle and with Jinder being WWE champion, it's not anything that's going to really ruin my day. And I'm going to hope for the best. I just hope that Jinder's title run is a success. And I hope he can be a guy in the future that WWE can go to when they need big-time matches. That's what they're trying to do, right? You know, they're trying to give more guys opportunities on SmackDown. You need some contenders. You need guys fighting for top titles. And now they've made a new guy here in Jinder Mahal. Whether he holds this belt for a month, a week, 2 months, whatever it is, he's now a former WWE champion. He will always have that on his resume. So I'm curious to know all of your opinions, whether you agree with Jinder winning the title, whether you think it's a crock of shit, whatever. From what I could gather on Twitter, and I forgot to put up a Twitter poll, I meant to right after Backlash ended to see if you like the show or not. So I don't know what the feedback is. I'll have to look at some other Twitter polls and see what the feedback is so far on Backlash. But, you know, if you take away the outcome of this main event, I thought the show was very good. And we're going to talk about it extensively here. The other big match on this card was the United States title match between Kevin Owens and AJ Styles. And that's another match that was causing a little bit of controversy on Twitter. Some people thought the finish was lame. I did not. Unlike the Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal match, this was a finish and a match that I had no problem with whatsoever. I predicted it right. I even said that I think Kevin Owens will retain, but I don't know if he's necessarily going to win or pin AJ Styles. They did the deal. Well, first of all, they had a great match. Let me just say that first. The match was unbelievably good. I knew it would be. These two guys, you know, when you see them in the ring in a semi-main event wrestling for the United States title, you can see how much John Cena's initial U.S. title run did for that belt. Having him hold that again, having a guy like Roman Reigns hold it. Rusev had a great long run with it. He held it for almost a year. In the last couple of years, they've done, I believe, a really good job of elevating the United States title back to a level of importance in the WWE that had not been there before. And to see Kevin Owens and AJ Styles, two top guys in the company, two former world champions, they were both holding the belt at the same time, I believe, on Raw and SmackDown respectively for a short time there. So these are two former world champions, two top guys, two bona fide main eventers wrestling for the United States title in a semi-main event. And I couldn't have been happier with the match, with their chemistry, with their work together. And you know it's not over because the whole match, all this brutalization, all of the punishment that both of these guys absorbed, and Kevin Owens picking that body part and working the shit out of that leg on AJ and him selling it like $1 million. And then they go to the finish where AJ falls through the announce table and gets his legs stuck and caught and entangled in all of the wires and shit with the monitors, and he couldn't get out, and he got counted out. And that's when a lot of fans were complaining, oh, that's a lame finish. I don't think that's a lame finish. I think that's an awesome finish because now you have a return. I didn't want to see either one of these guys, unless there was some cheating or interference involved, I didn't want to see either one really get pinned. And then they just have another match. You got to do something to have a reason for a rematch, and now AJ Styles getting counted out. Yeah, you never beat me. You injured my leg. I got all tangled up in some fucking wires. I deserve a rematch for that title. Then we might get a no disqualification match. We might get a no count out match, a falls count anywhere match, something like that at the next pay-per-view, provided these guys aren't involved in the Money in the Bank ladder match itself, which we still have to speculate on that and talk about that. But as far as the match goes between these two guys, I couldn't have been happier with the performance. The outcome was fine because now on TV, you're going to have AJ come out, demand a rematch. We're going to have something else here in the near future. And like I said in my predictions video, I predict that AJ Styles will win the United States title. I just did not think it would be at Backlash. Kevin Owens just lost the title at Payback, and then he had to win it back the next night on SmackDown, so I didn't want to see any hot potato type of stuff going on with this belt. So the fact that he held on to it here, and he can now have a return match with AJ, or maybe drop it down the line to AJ. Maybe they stretch this thing out until SummerSlam. Maybe AJ Styles wins the United States title at SummerSlam. I'd rather have AJ be involved in the world title picture, but if he can't be, or they don't have those plans for him, I guess this is the next best thing. A summer-long program between AJ Styles and Kevin Owens is not something that a wrestling fan like me is going to complain about. And I'm sure we will see more great things from them, and if their matches in the future are anything like their matches at Backlash, we're going to be in for a treat because this match was fantastic. Now let's talk about what I consider to be the match of the night. Are you ready for this? Are you sitting down? The match of the night, in my opinion, was the Usos versus Breezango. I could not believe how good that match was. It was an unbelievable balance of stupid, silly crap and really, really good wrestling and a dramatic match. Breezango, as we've seen, they've been doing the Fashion Police or the Fashion Files, and they've been doing all these skits on TV, which are all great and wonderful, and I'm as entertained by those as all of you are. And then they come out for their match with the Usos tonight, and Tyler Breeze is dressed up as the janitor, just like he was last week on SmackDown, and he's got a fucking mop in the ring, and then the match starts, and he gets tagged in, and then he's in there with the mop, with one of the Usos, and he's mopping the ring, and the whole time when he's on the ring apron waiting to be tagged in, he's mopping the ring apron. He's just cleaning up. He's just being a good guy. And he's got that bald cap on and the glasses and whatnot, and he's in the silly fucking costume. But in between all this goofiness, we had some good wrestling in this match, and I've never seen a match like this in my life. I cannot recall a time where a match was both serious and fucking retarded at the same time. Tyler Breeze even changed costumes at one point during this match. He leaves the ring and he gets tagged back in. Next thing you know, he's dressed up like an old lady with a cane and a wig and all of that. And the best part was when, I don't know the difference between the Usos. To this day, I still don't know which one is which. But one of them rips off the dress and throws it on the outside of the ring, and it just so happens to land right on the head of that twat waffle JBL. Oh my God, did I pop for that. I even tweeted out something to the effect of, you know how sometimes behind the scenes in WWE, they have cameras rolling, showing people coming to and from the ring and shit. I just hope that there was a camera at Gorilla that was rolling when that happened to hear all of the people, all of the talent agents and TV people and production people. I would love to see all of them laughing their ass off, because I guarantee you that got a backstage pop for sure when that shit landed on JBL's head. I just got the biggest kick out of that. And on top of all the craziness that we saw and the silliness that we saw in the Breezango and Usos match, it still got good. These guys put on a hell of a match. Fandango with a top rope dive onto the outside. Oh my God, that was amazing. As much as I love Breezango, I wasn't really ready to see the WWE tag team titles change hands in a match with mops and janitor outfits and old lady outfits and wigs and canes and dresses. To me, that's a really good way to devalue a championship. And I know the word and the term devalued is thrown around a lot, but you don't want your tag team belts changing hands in a match like that. They really surprised me here, because even though we had all that silly stuff, it was still an overall good match, and I found it to be very fun. And you guys know me, whenever I talk about wrestling in my commentaries, it's one of the themes that I always bring up. I just want things to be fun. Sometimes I feel like WWE doesn't have enough fun and they should be having more, and this is one of those matches where it didn't come off as stupid, because on paper something like this might sound a little bit ridiculous, but I've always been a big fan of Tyler Breeze. I've always hated his gimmick and the selfie stick and all that shit. I'm liking it a lot more now. Aside from his gimmick, which I hated, his in-ring work was great, and I always thought the guy, since he's been on the main roster, has been grossly underutilized. So to see him finally getting some opportunities now is really good, and now that we've gotten past this match at Backlash, now I feel like I'm a little bit more prepared or ready to see Breezango actually win the tag team titles in the future. So now if they have another match, which they probably will, I'm guessing, otherwise Breezango, where do you go from here? They're going to continue their silly-ass skits, but if they don't win anything, they're just going to return to that jobber status. So I think they needed to get the first match over with first, have the Usos retain and beat them. But now if they come back in a return and are able to win the titles sometime in the future, I think I can tolerate it, or I can accept it a little bit better than I would have if they would have won them tonight. However, if they would have pulled the upset and beat the Usos because of the quality of the match and how much fun it was and how entertaining it was, I probably would have been able to live with them winning the belts tonight. But, at the end, I didn't really want them to. I'm a big fan of the Usos. I love their mic work. I love their new heel look. I love their new persona. They're probably my favorite tag team in the WWE aside from Sheamus and Cesaro. And I wasn't really ready to see them lose the belts yet, but now if they do in the future, I'll be able to handle it just fine, because Tyler Breeze and Fandango are fucking entertaining as hell, and they did a great job in their match with the Usos tonight. Bravo to all four gentlemen, and I can't believe that a match with a wig and a dress and a mop and a cane is going to be match of the night, in my opinion, but it was. And you know what? And I don't even want to say match of the night. I should rephrase that, because a lot of you might be getting pissy in the comments and saying, oh, GoodMicWork, are you crazy? That wasn't match of the night. This was. AJ and Owens was, or whatever. Okay, put that aside. Forget match of the night. The match that entertained me personally the most, this was my favorite. It doesn't have to be your favorite, but it was definitely mine. And I was marking out throughout the whole thing. I was really entertained by it. One of the other big matches that I'm sure will be the match of the night to many of you, and I really wanted to pick this one. It's just, for me, I was so goddamn entertained by that Breezango and Usos match. I gave the nod to them, but you have to make an argument for Dolph and Shinsuke Nakamura. This match opened the show, which I thought was brilliant. I meant to even say something on Twitter. I thought earlier in the day that would be a really good match to start with because it's Shinsuke's debut. You want the crowd as hot as possible, singing his theme song, and I thought it was good placement for that match. And boy, oh boy, was that match competitive. Holy shit. Dolph Ziggler... It's not like we thought he was going to get squashed or anything like that. We all knew that Dolph Ziggler was going to give Shinsuke Nakamura a great match. I just did not think it was going to be as great as it was. Wow. And man, oh man, did Dolph Ziggler put up a fight. There was a couple times there where I actually thought he was going to win. I personally would not have wanted to see that. I think Shinsuke needs to be brought onto the main roster in a big way, and he needs to win his first match. But part of me was wondering if Dolph would actually win, and during the match itself, there was a couple of times there where he almost had him pinned. And I cannot say enough good things about Dolph Ziggler, given what he's been through in the WWE, given his position in the company, and the fact that he's never going to be on top again, most likely, and the fact that he's still going out there and busting his fucking ass to put guys over. Just makes me respect the balls off of that guy. And I appreciate what he did out there for Shinsuke Nakamura. And I hope they have one more. I mean, this was such a good match, and Shinsuke escaped barely with his life at the end of this thing. So, they can set something else up and maybe do one more. And this can be Shinsuke's kind of inaugural program as he comes onto the main roster. And when you think about guys on the roster or on SmackDown that you can put Shinsuke with first and get good matches out of him, who better to pick than Dolph Ziggler? Of course, Dolph Ziggler. I don't think the WWE could have found a better first guy for Shinsuke to work with. So bravo to both guys. The finish, too, at the end when Shinsuke caught Dolph right in the face with his knee or whatever the hell it was. I mean, just unbelievably stiff, brutal shots in this match. These guys took a beating out there. Backlash was off to a great start, and I knew this was going to be a good pay-per-view after this match. I said something in my head. I'm like, I just got this feeling that all the guys tonight are going to go out there and bust their asses, and if this first match is any indication, we're in for a major treat at Backlash, and we were. I think the show was very solid. I think I was the only one to pick Sami Zayn to beat Baron Corbin. I actually predicted that match right. I got the first 4 or 5 matches or so right on the whole card. The only matches I got wrong was the world title, of course, with Jinder Mahal, and I also got the ladies match wrong, which I'll talk about in a minute. And I think all the other ones I predicted correctly, including Baron Corbin versus Sami Zayn. I mentioned it in my last commentary that it seemed really easy to pick Baron Corbin in this match. He had just lost on SmackDown to Randy Orton. They got Money in the Bank coming up very soon, and I think Baron Corbin can be an early favorite to win that thing. So taking a loss here isn't going to hurt him any, and it's not really going to matter in the scheme of things in his career if he loses to the WWE champion and also loses to a great competitor like Sami Zayn. And I predicted Sami to win. He did. Match was pretty good. Definitely a hard-fought battle by both guys, and I was entertained by the match, and seeing Sami Zayn get the win in the end thrilled me to death. I just mentioned the women's match a minute ago. Didn't pay much attention to that. As a matter of fact, once the match started, I hopped in the shower. I hadn't taken a shower all day. I felt dirty, and I figured I would just take a shower and lather myself up with soap while I thought about all the women on the SmackDown roster. So you're welcome for that visual. But when I came back, the match was still going on, and I predicted this one wrong. I thought that the babyfaces would win. The welcoming committee has been tearing shit up on SmackDown. They've owned Charlotte, Becky, and Naomi in pretty much every segment and interaction that they've had together. So I thought the babyfaces need to get one back here and actually win this 6-women tag, and they didn't. Natalya tapped out Becky Lynch, I believe, with a sharpshooter, so that's how the finish came to be. And I've been saying for months now, ever since Natalya's heel turn and this whole welcoming committee has started, Natalya is the one that I think should hold the SmackDown women's title next, and I think they should build to a match between Natalya and Charlotte, potentially at SummerSlam, for the title. So don't be surprised in the next couple of weeks if you see Natalya get a title shot either at the next pay-per-view or on SmackDown against Naomi and win that belt. I'm predicting that Natalya will have that belt going into SummerSlam, and Charlotte will be the one to take it from her. So really right now, the women's division is not all that interesting to me, but hopefully that will pick up, and we'll see some more good things from the ladies. What other matches am I missing here? Oh yeah, Eric Rowan versus Luke Harper, easily the most disappointing match of the night. This was the popcorn match. They put this match in between the U.S. title and the world title, And to me, it was just terrible positioning for that match. I think they should have put the women's match in the spot or whatever and had Luke Harper and Eric Rowan have a little bit more time. We saw, and I talked about what Eric Rowan did on Talking Smack last week, and it seems like they're trying to get Eric Rowan a little bit more over as a character, and they're having him talk a little bit more. They're having him do some very bizarre things. He even came out during the kickoff show and crashed the pre-show panel there with Renee Young and Booker T and whatnot, and he came down and he sat down and put on the sheep's mask and was acting very crazy and doing the whole thing, and I like that. And the promo or his interview that he did on Talking Smack last week was so crazy and so bizarre that I liked it, and I think a lot of fans liked it, and it got a lot of people talking, and we were assuming that this must mean that they're going to try to do more with Eric Rowan, and I predicted him to win this match with Luke Harper, so I guess I got this match wrong too, so I think I missed 3 matches overall. But Luke Harper just beat him. Straight match, wasn't very special, only went a couple of minutes, and it was just an in-between breather match, I guess, between the U.S. title match and the world title match, like I said, and it was just nothing special whatsoever. After all this shit that they're doing with Eric Rowan, trying to do more with him, then he just goes out there and gets beat in a few minutes by Luke Harper, which, again, I don't want to complain about Luke Harper winning a match. I mean, Luke Harper, in my estimation, should be a much bigger star on SmackDown than what he is. So for him to get a win on pay-per-view is not something I'm going to complain about, but what the hell was the point of all that shit with Eric Rowan if he doesn't even win and he doesn't even do anything and he continues to be the jobber that he is? So we'll have to see on TV if they do more, if they pick this back up, and maybe this match on pay-per-view is just a buffer or just some filler, and they'll do more and put a little bit more time and investment in these two guys, and especially Eric Rowan here in the future. But really, it was not a match that I found enjoyable at all, and I thought they were going to do a lot more with Eric Rowan. Other than that, the only other match I'm missing is the kickoff match, right? Ty Dillinger did defeat Aiden English. We all kind of predicted that. Aiden came out there and did his singing and talking, and I can see potential in that character. The guy's got a great voice. If they put a little bit more time and investment in him in the future, I think they can make his unique look and his unique skills into something big on the SmackDown brand. So even though I'm not a very big fan of him now, I think he has potential to do something entertaining in the future, and the WWE should utilize him in a way that accentuates his positives and his skills, specifically what he can do on the mic, his voice, his singing, shit like that. So the character's a little bit goofy, reminds me of something we would see back in the year 2000 in WCW with the Maestro or Kwee or something like that. But, you know, if they play with it a little bit more, you never know what they'll be able to come up with, and maybe having Simon Gotch quit the WWE might be the best thing to happen to Aiden English. So I guess the jury is still out on that. So overall, I got to give the show a pretty good grade. I was a little bit let down with Jinder winning. I was a little bit let down with the lack of interest in the Eric Rowan and Luke Harper match, and maybe a couple of other things here or there, but really, it was a really good night of wrestling. You know, the guys busted their ass. Shinsuke and Dolph tore it up. AJ and Owens tore it up. The Usos and Breezango entertained the hell out of me and took me on a roller coaster ride of awesomeness during that match. So I found myself entertained by the whole show for the most part, and I have to give it a good grade, B+, A-, somewhere in there. Very little for me to complain about as far as Backlash goes. And guess what? It was not only Backlash. This was a hell of a weekend of shows. First of all, I have not yet seen the UK special that aired on the WWE Network on Friday that I believe Jim Ross called. And I know there were some good matches in that. A lot of you guys tweeted me, hey, take a look at it. You'll love it. It was entertaining as hell. So I definitely want to take a look at that, but I haven't gotten around to it yet, so I apologize for not having any more comments on it. Takeover Chicago. Holy shit. What a show. I've got to hand it to Backlash and the SmackDown crew for actually being able to follow that. I thought they were going to be fucked after I saw that pay-per-view on Saturday night. That was awesome. Let's just blow through it here. The opening match I thought was really good. Roderick Strong beat Eric Young in a really, really great match. Asuka, of course, successfully defended her women's title in a match that I was super entertained by. She took on Nikki Cross and Ruby Riott in a triple threat match, and those girls, I have not had a chance to see much of Ruby Riott. I've seen a little bit of Nikki Cross, and I definitely like her. She reminds me of I don't know, like, I don't even mean this in an insult. I mean this in a total complimentary way. But she reminds me of a female British Bulldog. She has that look. Her face, she reminds me facially of the British Bulldog. She just looks like she could be related to him or something. Very pretty girl, very crazy, and just a really good, tough women's wrestler I've always felt. And I've liked what I've seen out of Nikki Cross so far, the little bit that I have seen of her. Ruby Riott, I'm a little bit less familiar with, but watching her work in this match, I was impressed. And she's got a different look. She's not that bubblegum chewing model. I mean, I know a lot of the girls are a lot more credible now in the ring, but most of them, still have that typical look to them. You have a few unique looks, but not that many. This girl is extremely unique looking. She's got the tattoos. She's got that, dark gothic emo-ish type of look. I don't even know what the fuck you call it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And I just really like her different type of look and her different type of attitude and style. And I think she's really good in the ring. And the ending spot was great. She took that shot from Asuka right to the face and sold it well. She looked legitimately knocked out. And Nikki Cross had already been previously knocked out. And then Asuka falls on both of them and pins them both. So this girl has been champion now for nearly 400 days, well over a year. Asuka is absolutely unstoppable. And she was dominant again at another NXT TakeOver show. And I think this was supposed to be 3-on-1 originally, was it not? Wasn't Ember Moon supposed to be involved in this? But she had gotten injured, leaving it a triple threat match instead of a four-way or whatever. But still, man, Asuka. If you ask me, they should build her for Braun Strowman. They should put her in the ring with Brock. At this point, what do you do with Asuka, and who's finally going to take that belt off of her? And when is she going to get to the main roster? I want to see her on the main roster so bad. I want to see her be put on the main roster and have her work there for a year, and eventually put her on a collision course with Charlotte at a major pay-per-view, a SummerSlam, a WrestleMania, something like that. I would love to see Charlotte versus Asuka at WrestleMania next year if they can figure out a way to get the belt off of Asuka, get her on the main roster, and set her on a course to collide with Charlotte next year. I think that would be great, but who the fuck beats her? At this point, the only one you can really think of would be Ember Moon. She's over, she's good, people like her. At some point, they have to start making plans for Asuka to go to the main roster and for the future of the women's division in NXT and end this legendary, historic title reign of Asuka's. It's got to end at some point. So who's going to do it? Right now, my money's on Ember Moon, but hell, I guess at this point it could be anybody, and Asuka is not showing any signs of slowing down. So I was very happy and entertained by the women's match, and my favorite spot was that apron spot. I've never seen that before. I believe it was Nikki Cross that did it, right? God, I hope I'm right about that. It might have been Ruby Riott. Pretty sure it was Nikki, but Asuka went in for like a baseball slide underneath the ropes, and Nikki grabs the apron and pulls the apron that covers the side of the ring, pulls it out. Asuka falls in between there. She puts the apron back on her and basically ties her up in it and just nails her with a whole bunch of forearm smashes right in the face and the chest. It was awesome. My favorite spot of the match. We also had a title change take place on this show in a match that I thoroughly enjoyed. It was really cool to see Pete Dunne take on Tyler Bate, and of course Pete Dunne won the UK Championship in just an amazing match, and it makes me even that much more excited to go back and take a look at the UK special that aired on the network on Friday. I really like what they're doing with that whole thing, and a title change here, I guess, was necessary. They needed to do something to spark up the interest of the UK Championship, and having a title change at TakeOver was a good place for it. And congrats to both guys. Hell of a match. That Tyler Bate kid, he's only like 20 years old, and some of the stuff and the style of offense and how innovative both of those guys are. I had a great time watching this match. It amazes me what the business has come to today when I see matches like that. We also saw Bobby Roode successfully defend his title against Hideo Itami in another good match, and this was not the main event. This took place in the middle of the card or near the end of the card, and it was a great finish again, and Hitami had been working over Roode's arm throughout the whole match. He was in a lot of pain. Hideo had kicked out of one glorious DDT, and then they did the finish where I think Roode countered the GTS, countered it into the DDT, and then rolled through it like Eddie Guerrero style and lifted him up and hit him with a second one. And the crowd was like, holy shit. So I don't know if that's something that Bobby Roode regularly does, to roll through and nail his opponent with a second finisher like that. But it was great, and it looked good, and he scored the pinfall victory and retained the title against Hideo Itami in a match that I absolutely loved. Loved the entrance with the piano on the entranceway there, playing the little song before his entrance theme started. The whole presentation of the Bobby Roode character and the song and the fan participation and the crowd singing it is so much fun to watch, and I love him as champion. It was a great match, and kudos to both guys for entertaining the fuck out of me. And now we get to the main event, and man, DIY, Gargano and Ciampa taking on the Authors of Pain in a ladder match. You know, we knew we were going to see some crazy shit in this thing, and we did. That one spot where they dove onto one of the Authors of Pain guys, and the ladder just like literally snapped and exploded. That was great. Gargano pretty much swallowed a ladder whole at one point. It was the spot where he basically took the bullet for Tommaso, pushed him out of the way, and then caught the ladder right in the face. And when they slowed it down, he took that shot flush in the face. It looked a lot like Jeff Hardy getting smashed in the face in that match with Sheamus and Cesaro and losing a tooth. And, man, just the physicality in that match and what all four of those guys put their bodies through was unbelievable. And we had heard rumors that one of these guys in DIY was going to turn. I think I said Gargano was going to be the one to turn, but I guess I was wrong. And what I loved about this is that the word was out. I think fans kind of knew this. So the fact that WWE did this whole match, they had the Authors of Pain win, they celebrate, and then the crowd kind of gives the challengers a standing ovation as well. This all takes place within a matter of like 10 minutes. They really drag this out. They show a shit ton of replays from the ladder match, all the crazy spots that we saw, and the whole time it just looks like the show is going to go off the air. And I love that they went one step further. They even did the thing where they have the little graphic or the little bumper there at the end after every WWE show, just the all rights reserved shit or whatever. So that shows up on the screen and you literally think the pay-per-view is going off the air. And then finally, Ciampa grabs Gargano's head and rams it right into the Tron entranceway there. And the crowd is like, holy shit. And there it is. The heel turn finally takes place. And then nails him with a couple of his knees, gets him on the podium there, and throws him through a table. I mean, Gargano took an absolute ass-kicking, not only in the match, but in the heel turn as well. I absolutely loved the image of Gargano laying his head on Tommaso's leg after the heel turn, and Tommaso's kind of looking down at him like, I got you, motherfucker. And I guess we have no idea why he turned heel, what the reasoning behind this was, but it was so well done. And I like the fact that the WWE knew that the fans were hearing the rumors, and they did their best to drag this out as long as possible and try to swerve us instead of doing a predictable heel turn or have it come, in the middle of the match or maybe immediately following the match. They drug it out, and then they surprised us. After an already great NXT TakeOver, we're literally 1 second away from the pay-per-view going off the air, and bam, they hit us with one more swerve. I just think it's a shame that they had to break up before they were able to take this to the next level on the main roster as a tag team. I would have loved to see those two guys work with the Hardy Boys, work with Sheamus and Cesaro, work with the Usos, even work with the Revival once they get healthy and rekindle some of their NXT shit with them. Even working with American Alpha would be a lot of fun, so I was kind of hoping to see these guys as a team on the main roster, but the way the heel turn was pulled off and how over and how good both of those guys are, I think it's going to be a really fun and really awesome program, and it'll be interesting to see how long it lasts and when one or both of them make their debut on the main roster and which show they're going to be on and what they're going to be doing. So that's one hell of a weekend of professional wrestling that we got out of the WWE, and Chicago, sure as hell we're treated to a couple of damn good shows. So anyway, as a wrestling fan, this is one weekend where I have very, very, very little to complain about, and I hope you guys feel the same way. That is it for me. I am out of here. I will be up here later this week. I'll talk about Raw. I'll talk about SmackDown like I normally do. Also, don't forget, for those of you who don't know, my WrestleMania Memories commentary has been re-uploaded. It's a little bit longer now. WrestleMania 32 and 33 are added to the end of that thing. I've got the link right up there in the top right-hand corner, and I will be providing that link in many of my future videos here moving forward, just so people know that it's back up there, because the original video had well over 100,000 views, and it was a bummer that it got taken down. But it's back up now. All of the video footage is replaced with pictures, and it's a long 6.5-hour journey down memory lane. So if you haven't seen my WrestleMania Memories commentary before, please take a look and like and share and subscribe. So anyway, I will catch you guys in just a couple of days for your Raw and SmackDown review. You all take care, and thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you real soon. Until next time, peace.